Phil Mickelson has always been the ultimate survivor in professional golf. We have watched him handle massive gambling rumors, the huge LIV golf split, and brutal books written about his personal life. He always seems to bounce back. The headline surrounding him today is completely different, and it is shaking the entire golf world to its core. Phil Mickelson's longtime partner has publicly broken with him, and this time, the damage looks permanent. You know Phil. You know his long history in this sport. He usually fixes his mistakes with a great final round or a quick public apology. Right now, the entire golf world is watching his own inner circle walk away. This is not the PGA Tour punishing him. This is not LIV Golf dropping his name. The very people who have stood by his side for decades are finally drawing a hard line. They are cutting ties, and they are doing it in public for everyone to see. His team has not said a single word to the press. The truth is finally coming out. When a player loses the support of the tour, he can just play somewhere else. When a player loses his own inner circle, there is nowhere left to hide. His safe zone is gone. Digging deeper into this sudden exile reveals a specific trigger that nobody saw coming. That secret finally spilled out in a new publication called Scratch. This was not just a random article. Alan Shipnuck wrote the long, detailed piece. Hardcore fans already know Shipnuck. He has been covering Phil for years, and their relationship has always been toxic. This time, however, Shipnuck went far beyond old gambling debts. He detailed a pattern of bad behavior that shocked even the most cynical golf insiders. The article painted a dark picture of a man who had completely lost control of his private life. The reaction behind closed doors was immediate and brutal. Phil held a long-time membership at the Farms Golf Club in San Diego. Local courses do not compare to this place. The Farms stands as one of the most exclusive, prestigious private clubs in the country. Holding a membership there is the ultimate status symbol. Members use the building to make major business deals and protect their reputations. Within hours of the magazine hitting the newsstands, the board of directors took swift action. Board members quietly forced him out. They revoked his parking pass and disabled his key card before he even finished his morning coffee. Losing course access hurts, yet the financial fallout from this decision was about to multiply exponentially. Losing a private course membership might sound like a minor inconvenience to regular people. To a guy who has spent his entire life in the golf world, it is a public execution. The people who control the social and business elite of his own city no longer want to be seen with him. Club staff cleared his locker, while administrators removed his name from the member directory. His personal safe place was suddenly locked against him. Security guards were even instructed to monitor his access to the main gates. For decades, Phil relied on a massive financial team to manage his millions. They handled his endorsements, his real estate, and his brand. They were the shield that protected him from bad business deals. When the magazine article dropped, that shield completely shattered. The financial advisors realized that keeping Phil as a client was now a huge risk. His brand was toxic, and his name was dragging down their own reputation. Corporate sponsors started making quiet phone calls to his agents, asking how to exit their contracts gracefully. Corporate sponsors do not just leave quietly. They issue formal statements. They remove his face from their websites overnight. A major equipment company that had stood by him through the LIV move suddenly went completely dark. They stopped posting his content on social media. They pulled his custom clubs from the display racks at their corporate headquarters. The visual erasure was total. Every single logo that used to sit on his golf bag was suddenly scrubbed from the public eye. Losing corporate millions hurts the wallet, yet the personal rejection from his peers cut much deeper. They had to make a choice between their oldest client and their own business survival. The board at the Farms did not just ban him. They demanded that his private condo on the club property be sold immediately. The condo was a massive asset, tied up in his financial portfolio. Selling it in a panic would cost him millions of dollars. His financial team had to step in and handle the messy sale. Instead of fighting for him, his advisors did the unthinkable. They picked up the phone and called the club management directly. They did not call to negotiate. They did not call to ask for more time. They called to tell the club that they agreed with the ban. They told the management to take his name off the list, cancel his access, and put the property on the market right away. They essentially handed the club the keys to his exile. This wasn't just a standard real estate transaction. It was a coordinated effort to erase his physical footprint. Erasing his physical footprint was harsh, but the emotional isolation inside the locker room proved far more destructive. Professional golf is a lonely sport. But the locker room is a sacred space. It is where players share secrets, complain about course setups, and find comfort after a bad round. Phil always had a special place in that room. He was the guy who could make anyone laugh. He was the veteran who gave advice to the rookies. After the country club ban and the financial betrayal, the locker room doors started closing. He walked into practice rounds, and the conversations just stopped. Players who used to beg him for practice rounds suddenly had schedule conflicts. Caddies who used to share drinks with him after a tournament started avoiding his bag. The isolation was absolute. The worst part was not the silence from the young guys. The worst part was the silence from his oldest friends. The guys who had been on the tour with him for 20 years were suddenly looking at the floor when he walked by. Seeing your peers abandon you changes how you view the entire game. I feel his own team had to protect their money, but do you agree they crossed a line? Let me know below and subscribe for more real golf truth. Navigating that locker room silence was tough, yet the mental toll during his next major appearance broke him completely. He thought he could just ignore the locker room drama. He thought he could just focus on his game and let the noise fade away. He packed his bags and headed to the 2026 British Open. The Open is his favorite major. He won it at Muirfield in 2013 with one of the greatest final rounds in golf history. He thought playing well at St. Andrews would fix everything. He thought a good scorecard would make the world forget the magazine article. The media did not want to talk about his golf swing. They did not want to talk about the wind conditions. Every single reporter had the magazine article memorized. They asked him about the country club. They asked him about his financial team. They asked him about his personal life. He tried to give short, polite answers. He tried to smile and walk away. The questions just kept coming, getting more aggressive with every hole. Microphones were shoved into his face before he even reached the first tee box. Facing aggressive media questions is normal on tour, yet the airport terminal held a much darker surprise. By the time he finished his second round, he was completely mentally drained. He realized that the golf world was never going to let this go. The pressure was crushing him. He looked at his team and made the hardest decision of his career. He pulled out of the tournament. He withdrew from the British Open, leaving his bag in the locker room and walking away from the course. He thought the worst was over. He thought he could just fly home, hide out in San Diego, and wait for the news cycle to move on. As he sat in the private terminal, his phone started buzzing. It was not his wife. It was not his agent. It was a message from Pat Perez. The screen lit up with a name he never expected to see during a crisis. The flight home felt like a funeral march. He just wanted to sleep. Seeing that specific name on his phone triggered a chain reaction that destroyed his most vital friendship. For years, Pat and Phil were inseparable. They played practice rounds together. They partied together. Pat defended Phil in the media when the gambling stories came out. Pat was the one guy in the locker room who never turned his back. That loyalty completely disappeared the second Pat read the details of the magazine article. The article did not just mention the country club, it brought up a dark story from 2015 involving Pat's then-wife, Ashley Perez. The report detailed an incident where Phil allegedly showed Ashley a lewd, full-body nude photo and propositioned her while Pat was asleep in the same house. For years, this was just an ugly rumor. The magazine published it as fact, backed by new sources. When Pat saw his wife's name in print, linked to that specific allegation, he completely lost his mind. The betrayal cut deeper than any bad golf shot ever could. Pat's fury was now visible to the entire world. Nobody could ignore it. The damage was done. It was over. Completely finished. You have to understand what losing Pat really means. Pat was not just a guy he played golf with. Pat was the guy who flew on his private jet. Pat was the guy who hosted him at his house in Texas. They built a massive real estate deal together in Las Vegas. When Pat walked away, he didn't just take his friendship, he took millions of dollars in joint business ventures with him. The physical distance between them turned into a massive legal and financial wall. Watching a best friend walk away is devastating, and the total silence from the rest of the golf world proved his isolation was complete. Pat told Phil that he was done. He told him to never contact him again. He said he could not forgive him for what happened in 2015, and he did not care about their 2 decades of friendship. Then, Pat did something nobody expected. He went public. Pat gave an interview and confirmed the story. He told the world that the allegations were true, and that he would never speak to Phil again. This was the final nail in the coffin. Losing his financial team was bad. Losing his country club was embarrassing. Losing Pat Perez destroyed his soul. Pat was his anchor. Without Pat, Phil had absolutely no allies left in the golf world. The LIV golf locker room turned completely ice cold. The High Flyers GC, the team they both played for, became a nightmare. Phil could not even sit at the same table as his own teammates. Watching your best friend become your biggest enemy is a tough pill to swallow. The High Flyers GC team is now in a terrible spot. Bryson DeChambeau and the rest of the squad have to play team events with this massive cloud hanging over them. Teammates are forced to stand next to him in the team photo while the cameras flash. Nobody is smiling. The team captain has to give press conferences defending a player who is actively being shunned by the rest of the tour. It creates a toxic environment that ruins their chances of winning. Playing in a toxic team environment is exhausting, but the mental breakdown at his favorite major proved he could not handle the pressure. I believe this marks the final chapter of his career, but can he ever rebuild his name? Drop your thoughts and subscribe for more deep dives. Rebuilding a damaged reputation takes years, yet the total silence from his peers proved his isolation was absolute. Other players started distancing themselves from Pat just to avoid the drama, but they also distanced themselves from Phil. Nobody wanted to be caught in the middle of the fight. Phil's phone stopped ringing completely. His group chats went silent. The man who used to be the center of the golf universe was now completely, utterly alone. The dread of total isolation finally set in. He realized that no amount of money or golf trophies could buy back the trust of the people who mattered most. Phil Mickelson is now facing a reality he never thought possible. He is 60 years old. He has 6 major championships. He has made hundreds of millions of dollars. None of that matters right now. The golf world has drawn a line in the sand, and he is on the wrong side of it. His wife, Amy, has largely stayed out of the public eye, but the reports say she is fully supporting the financial team's decisions. She is protecting her family's assets, even if it means letting her husband face the music alone. The man who conquered the golf world was now a prisoner of his own making. Confronting personal ruin is hard, yet the broader impact on his legacy will echo through golf history. The tragedy of Phil Mickelson is not that he made mistakes. Every human being makes mistakes. The tragedy is that he never learned when to stop. He pushed his luck with gambling, and it cost him his reputation. He pushed his luck with his comments about LIV golf, and it cost him his PGA Tour legacy. Now, he pushed his luck with his personal behavior, and it cost him his inner circle. He thought he was untouchable. He thought he was Teflon Phil. Teflon eventually wears off. The golf fans who love the game are left with a strange feeling. We want to see our heroes win. We want to see them lift trophies and smile for the cameras. We also want them to be good people. When a player loses the respect of his own wife's financial team, his own country club, and his own best friend, the game itself feels a little darker. The magic of the sport is tied to the characters who play it. When the main character falls this hard, it changes how we watch the game. Fans are forced to rethink who they cheer for on Sunday afternoons. Changing how fans view the sport is one consequence, yet his future on the course remains highly uncertain. Phil will probably try to make a comeback. He will probably try to play in a few more senior events. He will try to smile and shake hands. Every time he steps on the first tee, the crowd will remember the magazine article. They will remember the country club ban. They will remember Pat Perez walking away. The ghost of his past mistakes will follow him down every fairway. What happens to the golf academies that bear his name? Local courses that pay him to put his logo on their practice facilities are now getting nervous. They are looking at the public backlash. They are reading the angry emails from their own members. Some of these smaller courses are already quietly reviewing their contracts. They want to know if there is a morality clause they can use to get out of the deal. His name, which used to open every door in the golf business, is now a liability. Turning his own name into a business liability is a harsh reality, while the final chapter of his career is still being written. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the biggest story in golf right now. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. We will keep bringing you the real truth about what is happening on and off the course. Keep watching, keep learning, and we will see you in the next video. The journey has been wild, but the final chapter is still being written. Every swing he takes from now on will be scrutinized. Every interview will be a test. The pressure is entirely on his shoulders. He has to prove he belongs. He has to prove he cares. He has to prove he is sorry. He has to prove it all. He has to prove it today. Writing that final chapter requires honesty. Yet the golf world is waiting to see if he has any left. The galleries will be watching closely. The commentators will be analyzing every move. There is no hiding place left on the golf course. He must face the music alone. This is the reality of professional golf when the spotlight turns dark. Every single fan will be judging his character, not just his swing. The legacy he built over 40 years is hanging by a very thin thread. We will see if he can mend it, or if it snaps completely. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more honest golf coverage soon. Mending a broken legacy is nearly impossible, yet the golf world will be watching his every move from now on.